fard. And without having to go in any further detail, the only thing I need to remind ourselves then, specifically myself and everyone else here, that we just go back to ourselves in the past Ramadan and see how did we use it. We heard a lot of things in the past Ramadans. We promised a lot of promises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to ourselves. And we thought of doing a lot of things. But now let's think about how did we spend the previous Ramadan. And let's not do it the same way. Let's not repeat our same mistake. وَقِيَامَ لَيْلِهِ تَطَوُّعًا. Allah likes to see the ummah standing before Allah during the month of Ramadan. Likes to see each and every person in this ummah, at least if not throughout the year and the last parts of the night of the year, at least during the month of Ramadan, would like to see us standing up and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reciting the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And instead of this, if we are seen and the ummah is seen watching TV, wasting time doing things here and there, we couldn't give any more importance to the deen or our dunya just the way we are throughout the year, then of course, whatever the consequences of that could be throughout the year, we can very well understand it then. Then we should have no reason of complaining why these things are happening, if we can't even use that month. At a time when He tells us, I would like to see you doing this, and then He sees us doing something different. وَمَنْ أَدَّى فِيهِ فَرِيضَةً كَانَ كَمَنْ أَدَّى سَبْعِينَ فَرِيضَةً فِي مَا سِوَاهُ. Whoever performs one fard during the month of Ramadan gets the reward of performing 70 faraid any other time of the year. 70 faraid. So for each salah, we are getting the reward as if we have performed this salah 70 times. You have performed this salah 70 times. Which means one fajr, you are getting the reward of performing it for 70 days of your life. More than 2 months. This is when we are doing the faraid. And each nafil is equivalent to a fard. So each dollar of sadaqah, of charity, just like $70 any other time of the year. And we know any other time of the year, the reward of $1 could go up to 700 and can be multiplied by even more. So that's in a regular time, in the regular days of the year. One equivalent to 700. And during the month of Ramadan, even that is multiplied by 70. Subhanallah. Look at the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He just wants to give and give and give. And if we ourselves are not willing to take, then of course what else He can do for us? His doors are open. He takes the shayateen, chains them up, that don't disturb these ibad, these my servants of mine, from doing the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's still our nafs doesn't want to accept, is not willing to help us make our way to Jannah and please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then what else Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would do for us? So the reward of one faridah like 75. وَهُوَ شَهْرٌ أَوَّلُهُ رَحْمَةٌ وَأَوْسَطُهُ مَغْفِرَةٌ وَآخِرُهُ عِتْقٌ مِّنَ النَّارِ. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the first part of this month brings the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The doors of the rahmah are wide open. And not only they're open throughout the month of Ramadan. We can say, just to explain it, that the rahmah of Allah is looking for an excuse just to have a mercy on a person. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gives us some example of that, inshallah, as I'll talk about it in a minute, inshallah. So the first part of this month, the first 10 days, is rahmah. It's only rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Get as much as rahmah. Because once we get this rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now we can go back and use the next 10 days, which is the maghfirah, getting the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After the forgiveness, the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Itqum min an-nar." People are getting their certificates of being free from the hellfire. Subhanallah. You know what does this mean? Forgiveness. What's the difference between maghfirah and itqum min an-nar? Isn't it a person who got the forgiveness of Allah already, he's free from the hellfire? Of course. This is what it means. But what's the difference now? The difference is very nice, beautiful to understand. Maghfirah simply means you get the forgiveness of all the previous sins. But now, have we proved ourselves to be the ones who will hold to it for the rest of our lives? And then inshallah, for the rest of our lives, we will keep on getting the forgiveness? That is the last 10 days. The way, if we have really made the use of the first 20 days, in the last 10 days, and different parts of the last 10 days, some people just as soon as the last 10 days enter, some people might be after 2 or 3 days, depending on how we prove ourselves, they keep on getting the certificates from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you are free from the hellfire. The hellfire will never be able to touch you, will never be allowed to touch you. Simply means, inshallah, throughout your life, now you will be on Sirat al-Mustaqim. It's that guarantee, atqum min an-nar, that you are free from the hellfire. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave us few examples of the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, "Man fattara fihi sa'iman kana maghfiratan li dhunubi wa 'itqa raqabatihi min an-nar." A person who provides something to a fasting person to break his fast with, all of his sins will be forgiven, and that person will be free from the hellfire. He is freed from the hellfire. Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, poor Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, have only few dates just to feed themselves, just to break their fast, nothing even to eat after breaking the fast. That's all they had. Few dates. Ya Rasulullah, laysa kulluna yajidu ma yufattiru bihi as-sa'im. Not all of us can afford to feed a fasting person, Ya Rasulullah. Then how would we get that reward, Ya Rasulullah? They are competing, they would like to get that reward. But Ya Rasulullah, I have only few days. That's all I have to break fast. And that's for me and my family. And there is nothing that I can eat myself after breaking the fast. How about feeding others? I can't do that. So Ya Rasulullah, that means that I cannot get that reward. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, يُعْطِ اللَّهُ هَذَا الثَّوَابِ مَنْ فَطَّرَ صَائِمًا عَلَى تَمْرَةٍ. If you give a fasting person just one date, you get that reward. أَوْ شَرْبَةٍ مِّن مَاءٍ. Or you give him just one sip of water to break his fast with, you got the reward, if you cannot afford to give more. أَوْ مَذْقَةٍ مِّن لَبَنٍ. You had little more, you could afford little more, so you gave him a glass of milk. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, you will get that reward. Subhanallah. This is the rahmah of Allah. And not talking about just those who cannot afford to eat something or have something to break their fast with. Any fasting person. And this shows the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam advised us of doing 4 things during the month of Ramadan. وَاسْتَكْثِرُوا فِيهِ مِنْ أَرْبَعِ خِصَالٍ. Do 4 things in abundance during the month of Ramadan. Keep on using them throughout the month. Make them a habit. Throughout the time you are busy doing one of these 4 things. خَصْلَتَانِ تُرْضُونَ بِهِمَا رَبَّكُمْ وَخَصْلَتَانِ لَا غِنَاءَ بِكُمْ عَنْهُمَا. 2 of these things are to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the other 2 things, you have no choice but to do them. As far as the 2 things that are to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَشَهَادَةُ أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَتَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. Keep on reciting La ilaha illallah. This pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And وَتَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. And keep on doing the istighfar because it pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, in one of the other Jum'ahs, we'll talk about these things. So these are the 2 things that are to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keep on reciting La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. Throughout the day when we're working, driving, doing whatever we have to do, our tongue is busy, La ilaha illallah. Or Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah.